Yuba City Basin Stormwater Resource Plan adoption is also yours.
Okay, this one has a long name and a thick binder that goes along with it. The item I have before you is in regards to the city's stormwater resource plan adoption. And so, let me find my. So here we go. So basically back in 2014, the state passed a Senate Bill 985 that with Prop 1 money, it set a standard that in order to qualify for Prop 1 money for stormwater resource projects, you had to have a stormwater resource control plan in place. And so we, at that time, there was also some grant opportunities to develop the plan. And so the city applied for the grant and received a grant to develop the plan. It was a 50% match on the plan, but with that we were able to leverage existing funds that the city used to develop a citywide basin plan. So with this plan that got developed, $320,000 the cost. The city locally we contributed about $20,000, $25,000, which was primarily staff time. So in the goal with this plan was to leverage ourselves. So we put us in a position when these Prop 1 funds become available that now it develops projects and it goes through all the hoops that the state wants you to go through to vet these projects in order to be so you could qualify for the Prop 1 funding when it comes up. And why this is a big deal for us is that there's some new requirements coming down the road regarding trash capture with the stormwater system. And so what that is basically by 2025 the cities are supposed to capture anything 5 millimeters, which is about a cigarette butt. And when we have close to 900 drop inlets around the city, you have this huge it's a looming task to try to do that, how you clean it, how you implement it. And so with that plan, we leveraged it to get the grant relatively cheaply for the city. And then with that we've developed, we've gone through the hoops to develop this plan. And this plan it's thick. It was developed with public outreach with a technical advisory committee that was made up of community members from development, from agriculture, from local agencies, and insight from staff. And we worked through with a consultant, West Coast Engineers, to develop these projects to basically take these projects, go through the criteria, and then prioritize them and position us for when this funding becomes available. And so a little bit on the criteria, the state had these 5 main overarching criteria that for the projects to qualify, they had to meet at least 2: water quality, water supply, flood management, environment, or community. So any project that was submitted for review had to at least have 2 of those elements. And then so we went out to the group, to the public, to the technical advisory committee, to staff, and we said, give us your projects. And so when we took those projects, then we looked at them and then ranked them by affordability, feasibility, meet regulatory requirements, how they use public land. And then the city was a big deal for the trash capture requirement. We wanted to put that in there, so we're getting a project that's useful for us, in addition to meeting some of the other goals. So with that, we took, I believe it was 10 projects. There was originally 12. I think 2 of them were consolidated together, so we came up with 10. And we came up with 5 projects, the top 5 that we put a conceptual design level to, and through that plan, that was part of the project scope. And so just a quick run through on the top ranking criteria that meets those original water quality, water supply, flood management, environment, and community. This first one was a little work at the Gilsizer detention basin, so behind the courtyard there at the baseball field. This is kind of a standard project for this plan. It's improvements to a detention basin where instead of having like a concrete low flow channel, if anybody's familiar with the detention basins, typically for erosion control, there's always a low amount of water flow coming through. And so we run it through a concrete channel, and then it bubbles up and goes into an outlet. But with that channel, it doesn't perk into the ground. It's a little easier to clean, and we do it for various reasons. But at the same time, it doesn't meet the state's goal of groundwater recharge, environmental, filtering, and some of those different things. And so what we've done through these plans in order to meet the criteria for project funding is that we've changed these, instead of just being a straight concrete channel, that we've kind of rerouted them to be along the perimeter of the basins. So where the water comes in, on this one on the north, we kind of route the channel so it's going to run along the edge. It's going to have it's going to be more of a French drain type of system with rocks and have a way to perk into the ground. And so that gets criteria for that. And then with that, there's a big community element that the state is pushing for. And so instead of habitat, where we run into a lot of maintenance issues, we're pushing for open space. We're pushing for play fields with the demand of the community. There's a lot of public input for that. And so with this location being right next to the baseball field, there's always room for another baseball field. So the thought is just to lay out with the correspond with a baseball diamond. This is the pond down off of Burns Drive, just adjacent to the wastewater treatment plant. And I should note that one of the big points with this is just a little rectangle right here, but there's a design on that has the trash capture device. So instead of putting filter bags on every single DI, the plan is to work at the basins and capture that trash with a system that we can maintenance and clean before it gets pumped into the river. So we have another field or another pond down next to the wastewater treatment facility. Real similar, redirect the low flow and for groundwater recharge, and then with a trash capture device. Shanghai Bend Park, or I shouldn't say park, but the Shanghai Bend detention basin across from the park. You can see kind of an outline for a soccer field. Tried to shoehorn in here and regrade the slope, and then adjust the low flow channel to outside and have it seated for use. And so real similar. This is a little bit different. This is Lincoln Road, just west of 99. This is where Gilsizer Slough comes pretty much. It goes into open channel here. There's a little bit of open channel before that, but this is where the west Yuba City drainage comes in right here, and then the main channel comes together. And so we're proposing a trash capture device there to catch pretty much everything in Yuba City before it goes out. And then the fifth project has been one that the Gilsizer Slough has been really interested in for a long time. Is right before the Gilsizer Slough goes underground here at Julian Orchard or Park and Orchard. There's an issue where the trash hangs up and it's hard to clean, so we're trying to improve that area and make it a little more effective. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. And really, this is not a regulatory adoption. This is really just we're adopting a plan that establishes criteria on stormwater projects. And these projects that meet this criteria then qualify for future potential funding. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Ben. Any questions or comments for Ben?
Through the
how about
mayor,
action?
the only real comments I'm making is some of these things you're talking about, having served now, I think it's the third year, on the League of California Cities Environmental Quality Committee, and the legislation that comes through that provides all these things and basically requires us to do all this effort. I'm not saying that in a derogatory way at all. It's creates good guidance for our community for keeping contaminations down in the environment and stuff. But these last three items actually were all part of some of the legislation that I've been having to discuss over the last 3 years. I can say that it's this is a preliminary step for us to qualify, as you're saying. They just, it's kind of the hook. If you're going to want the money, you're going to have to do this. And luckily, it's not something that is necessarily onerous. It's just you got to get out there and give them a good plan and really look to the future, what it's going to look like. And the other thing is I didn't really see anything that goes to the west part of the city regarding any of the drainage. Is it just that it's not as necessary yet, except that one that goes into Gilsizer?
So as far as Live Oak Canal?
Yeah, and
So
some
the
other
county,
stuff.
the county definitely played a part on the panel, and we looked at different basins in the Live Oak Canal as they develop, and one of the criteria, one of the projects that is listed that we didn't do a specific layout for, but it talks about developing detention basin criteria.
Okay.
So when, say, El Margarita master plan develops and we put in new detention basins or the northwest side of Yuba City that goes into Live Oak Canal, then we would have that criteria that we wouldn't be retrofitting existing ponds, but this would be how they would be constructed.
Okay. And I don't think, this is a little comment regarding the actual topographical structure of Yuba City. I'm not sure that a lot of people realize that Yuba City near the river is high. Yuba City is actually downhill towards the west because that's the way the plane of the flooding would come and make the deposits. So it's actually downhill going west and not towards the river. So I think that's something that a little trivia thing that people don't really realize in this community, that it's downhill the opposite direction you would think. So that's why it's, our drainage system has to be designed the way it is. So just a little flood protection knowledge that I've known.
Great, thank you. Any other comments? Back for Ben? If not, do we have action?
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect, thank you.